Welcome to another adventure. Before the video starts, remember to leave a like and subscribe. Now, enjoy the video.
So, you stumbled upon or heard about a thing called SCP.
That's right.
And you're wondering what it's all about. This guide has all the information you need to know about what the SCP Foundation is and what it has to offer you. Think of it as the ultimate primer to the universe, and the wiki as it is and should be seen today.
Alright, okay.
This guide is split up into 3 sections, and they are as follows.
The basics.
Number 1, the basics. An introduction to the SCP Foundation and wiki, covering the SCP format, object classes, in-universe lore about the Foundation, and important vocabulary, and why it all matters.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
Number 2.
It's like a university course, man.
Elements. This covers some background information and a lot of commonly used terms that might leave a new reader lost or confused. Number 3. Things to read and do. A tour of the entire SCP universe.
Ooh, perfect.
All modes of writing and different kinds of pieces that you can read.
That's the kind of thing we
Dash
need to look for.
J's to EXs, 001 proposals to groups of interest, tales, and canons. There's a lot more than just the SCP series.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's go.
The basics. Operating clandestine and worldwide, the Foundation operates beyond jurisdiction, empowered and entrusted by every major national government with the task of containing anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena. These anomalies pose a significant threat to global security by threatening either physical or psychological harm.
Oh, this is just like
Introduction.
what it is, okay.
The
I see.
SCP Foundation is a collaborative writing platform centering around a fictional foundation, a scientific and military organization that seeks to protect humanity and the status quo by locating and containing anomalies, objects, life forms, events, locations, concepts, creations, and phenomena that, in one way or another, violate natural law. On the SCP Wiki, authors tell stories and explore ideas within this urban fantasy science fiction universe, creating rich pieces of writing that take place in a world where the anomalous exists and how people and organizations interact with them. These articles may showcase the different types of phenomena that might exist in this universe, the SCPs themselves, or tell compelling narratives about life and interactions within the SCP world, tales, canons, and groups of interest formats.
This is why SCP, I think, is so attractive to at least me personally and so many other people, is that it's such a plethora of content, and because it's not like one author, it's just like an ever-growing thing. Like, think about it this way. The SCP universe is going to keep developing even after I'm dead. It's going to accumulate in stories, in ideas, in intricacies, in play on each other, on the universe this is integrated in. Man, it's, dude, I'm not gonna lie, SCP it's like a fine wine. You know what I'm saying? It's like a Tolkien story, you know what I mean? It's like a good one. But the thing that makes SCP maybe the step above is that it's a collective one. I have no idea who started doing this, but this is some next level shit. Let's keep going.
The central focus of the SCP Wiki is the SCP file, commonly referred to as just an SCP. It is a set of in-universe technical documentation supposedly compiled by the Foundation in an effort to understand, analyze, experiment with, and most importantly, contain the anomaly.
Wait, really?
The SCP file is, in effect, a form of constrained writing, an immersive way to tell a story about the nature and history of an anomalous object or entity, whether directly or by hinting at some greater idea.
Wait, sorry for pausing already. Dude, that's crazy. Wait, it's kind of like the idea, oh my god, that's great. Dude, it's kind of like the idea of, I just mentioned Token, right? It's kind of like his idea as well. He in a way, he sort of told the story of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit as if he was an historian. Well, in the same type of symbolic fashion, it does seem like the people who are interested in the SCP, or like co-creators of the SCP universe, they seem to be almost like they are part of the Foundation reporting back something they have found, and if it's something that's what should we say, noteworthy to the organization itself, which is fucking genius. Dude, I don't know if it was purposefully, but this sort of natural evolution of stories tend to create the best stuff ever. And so man, I can't wait to I can't wait.
Each SCP is given a unique serial number or designation. And on the wiki, you can browse SCPs with designations ranging from 1 to 3,999.
Oh, Jesus.
They are organized into 4 numerical series.
Like 096!
Through to 999. Series 1 was written from 2007 to 2011. Series 2, SCP-1000 through to SCP-1999. Series 2 was written from 2011 to 2013.
Oh!
Series 3, SCP-2000 through to SCP-2999. Series 3 2013 to 2007.
So when they hit like 1,000 accepted SCPs, they'll move on to the next one.
3,999.
Still
being written.
Nice.
Started in 2017.
So once it accepted 3,999, it will go to 4,000 in a new series, right?
An SCP file has a very specific format that, in general, must be strictly adhered to. SCPs are the backbone of the entire franchise. These documents are the set pieces of the universe, showcasing its tone, stories, and possibilities. The basic format of an SCP is as follows. Item number, SCP hyphen, then the number. Object class, then a category name. Special containment procedures, then a detailed summary of all specific means needed to make sure the anomaly is safely contained. Description, then a technically written documentation of all things that the anomaly is, does, and can do. And finally, supplements, optional additional files added onto the base document. Each SCP is given an object class based on the degree of containment difficulty. Here are the primary object classes.
Okay.
Safe. The anomaly can be contained by simply leaving it alone. No special procedures, methods, or events are necessary to keep it from damaging the world. This does not necessarily mean it's not dangerous. A safe class object can be world-threatening if not contained, but it's just really easy to contain them. Some notable examples of safe class SCPs are SCP-1981, SCP-2579, SCP-993, SCP-1425, and SCP-3039. All examples will be in the video description.
Okay.
Next.
Wait, so do they mean like... Sorry for pausing again, but I didn't understand that fully. Do they mean... Okay, so when it's safe graded, basically it means that it's not based on whether it's harmful or not. It's based on how easy it's like to contain it. Is that right? Okay, just think about it like this. Let's say if it was like a coin, right? And that was the SCP 3,750, right? And you flicked it, and if somebody heard the sound, they I don't fucking know, passed out or some shit like that, right? Then it's like the SCP in itself is dangerous, but it's a coin, man, motherfucker. You can put it in an envelope and it won't make noise. You know? I think they mean kind of like that. Like it's very easy to contain it.
All examples will be in the video description. Next, Euclid. The anomaly is inherently unpredictable or requires some amount of special effort to be contained. You're not quite sure what will happen if you leave it alone, and it might be a little bit more complex than a safe class entity, object, or phenomenon.
Okay.
Some notable examples of Euclid class SCPs are SCP-3008, SCP-426,
is that IKEA?
SCP-1171, SCP-3001,
IKEA as an SCP?
SCP-1609.
Wait, what?
And finally, Keter.
Keter.
These SCPs are really difficult to contain.
Requiring
a huge
like 096
or extensively complex containment procedures. The most dangerous of phenomena are classed as Keter, often, but not always, posing an existential threat to humanity, the world, or universal structure itself. Some notable examples of Keter-class SCPs are SCP-1739, SCP-231, SCP-2935, SCP-2293, and SCP-3200.
I want to learn about those.
In addition,
dude,
there are
what?
a number of esoteric and secondary classes that are used much less than the big three that I just mentioned, but still serve important purposes. Thaumiel. This is a very rare object class only known to the highest levels of the Foundation.
Thaumiel.
In essence,
Okay.
Thaumiel class objects are anti-Keter. They are used in the containment or counteracting of other SCPs. They act as powerful tools to be used by the Foundation, which normally rarely uses anomalies. Some notable examples of Thaumiel class SCPs are SCP-2000, SCP-2003, SCP-3000, SCP-179, and SCP-3031.
So they are like... Wait, does that mean that a Thaumiel can be dangerous? It's just that it can counteract another dangerous SCP? Or is it like... Is it classified as a Thaumiel? I can't pronounce it. Just based on its capabilities to counteract? It must be that, right? I think I understood it.
And finally, neutralized. It used to be anomalous, now it's not. Maybe it just stopped working on its own. Maybe someone accidentally or purposefully destroyed it. Either way, it no longer has functional anomalous properties. Some notable examples of neutralized class SCPs are SCP-1470, SCP-2682, SCP-3519, SCP-1762, and SCP-2420.
What?
If you want to stop
That's-
watching this guide now and start
that's kinda
diving into
sad.
the wiki, this is a good time to do so.
Of course I want to, but I can't. I
Maybe
gotta
you
bring the
can click
people
one
with me, you
from
know?
the description,
Oh, fuck.
and then follow the crosslinks and navigation
God
in the
damn it.
article. Maybe you can go to a series page. I highly recommend series 2 and 3, and just click on one with an intriguing title. Or you can
Oh, we're gonna
press
explore, trust me.
random SCP.
We're gonna
What's to
explore,
learn about the
trust me.
Foundation is to discover for yourself all the genres, emotions, and ideas it can evoke, to keep that sense of mystery and gritty realism. There's still a lot to learn about the culture and vocabulary and universe of the site. You can find out and learn by yourself just by reading as much as you can. Playing it by ear, it's pretty fun that way. Or if you'd like to get a better handle on everything that's going on and a few more ways to drop you into the community, stay tuned. I still have a lot
I think
to
we
share.
should definitely listen to his suggestions there.
Next up, in-universe elements. Foundation structure and protocol. Security clearance represents how much information about an object you're allowed to know. If you've read through an SCP or two, you're bound to have seen these. Data expunged, redacted, or the text completely blacked out. These keywords are common hallmarks and tools of narrative of the SCP Wiki, signifying that the information has been classified to a higher clearance or has been cleansed completely.
To make like mystery of more mystery on
That is
it.
classic to the SCP fandom. For a great example of how security clearance levels can be used, read SCP-2317. There are also many types of workers in the Foundation. Among them,
That's
we have
clever.
containment specialists, researchers, and security tactical response officers. There are field agents who are out in the world undercover, looking for signs of anomalous activity, and mobile task forces, special units that are assigned to carry out certain dangerous jobs. The task forces document contains a list of mobile task forces along with their associated SCPs. The Foundation is usually thought of as a far-reaching organization, and so their bases are found across the globe, and sometimes outside of it. These bases can be sites or areas. For more information, read Secure Facilities Locations. The leaders of individual areas or sites are high-ranking Level 4 researchers known as Site Directors. There are a few in the Foundation that rank higher than Site Director, and they are the O5 Council. the ultimate leaders of the entire Foundation.
5
Overseer
people.
Council, abbreviated to O5, is a group of 13 people who manage all Foundation
Oh, it's 13
operations
people.
worldwide and have complete access to all information.
Wait, actually?
Redacted or not. Their identities are classified for safety, and they are only referred to by their ID.
Oh, so they're...
1 through 13.
Ah!
In addition,
Even more
some
mystery.
versions of canon also include the existence of an administrator, the creator of the Foundation. Finally, one of the most interesting parts of the Foundation are D-Class personnel,
D-Class.
or Class Ds.
Venus class.
The canon around D-Class personnel helps showcase the colder and more morally gray side of the Foundation. In order to experiment with and contain SCPs, the Foundation needs lab rats to test things with. The D-Class.
Oh.
Oftentimes, they are recruited from death row or the prison population, serving as expendable personnel that are used to handle hazardous anomalies. In the early days of the site, the common headcanon was that all D-Class were executed at the end of the month. However, this idea has gone out of fashion as the site has evolved.
Yeah, that
For
seemed
interesting stories about
unreasonable.
Class D personnel. Try reading entries from the D-Class contest.
Oh, that's fascinating. Wait, just briefly. I know, like the foundation of the SCP world are the SCP themselves and their documentation in the SCP Wikipedia. But is it so that there is also like not a personal journal, but a personal report, if you will, maybe, from the other classes that are not as high up? You know, like test reports, you know, on the Class D participants, if you will, I don't know, forceful participants. It would be really interesting to read some of the scientific tests that they have conducted. But if that's not part of it, of course, then, you know, it is what it is, but it's intriguing. And I would also like to compliment how they use classification to mystify the reports and documents, to make it a little bit like, ooh, what's really going on, you know? Because I think that's a super important element for a lot of people about at least world design and world creation, is when you don't really know everything about the world. It's kind of like the world is still a mystery. Like, you get to peek behind the curtains, but you don't see it all. Because when you see it all, it kind of loses its value. It's kind of like a magic trick in a way, you know? You see the coin, it disappears, and it pops in the other hand, and you're like, ooh, I see something's going on. But if you actually see the trick, you know, he has 2 coins, motherfuckers, then it's like all gone. Admittedly, I don't know though, so we'll continue watching.
To know. The SCP Wiki has created a wide set of terminology
Terms
and
to
new
know.
innovations,
Okay.
inventing concepts that are unique to the premise of the site and found nearly nowhere else in literature. You may want to know these terms before you dive in. Anomalous classifications. Memetic, or meme. A
Wait,
meme is
what
any
is this?
unit of information that can spread and transfer itself throughout society. Memetic
Ooh.
effects deal with how the brain understands and reacts to media. It is a piece of data in the subject's mind that has an anomalous effect on that subject's physical or mental state that is spread when someone else becomes aware of
Richard
the
Dawkins'
information.
definition of
In
meme.
particular, anomalous
Kinda.
memetic agents are bits of hazardous information
Right?
that are like a mental virus, triggering anomalous reactions in
Oh,
people who are
never
exposed
mind.
to them.
Not exactly like that, but kind of like that.
Anti-memetic or anti-meme. An anti-meme is the opposite of a meme. It has self-censoring properties. Anomalous
Self-censoring.
anti-memes are perfectly mentally camouflaged, whether by making you unable to hold your perception of one in your short-term memory, or making you unable to comprehend the concept of its existence.
Question, please, sir. Does that, okay, because I only know about one SCP, and that's the one we have seen on, we have seen some explanation on, SCP 096, right? He is like, if you see a picture of him, or see him live, he freaks out and he takes you out, essentially, right? Is that a meme? Or will it be classified as an anti-meme? You see what I'm saying? Because it's like a mental thing, right? Isn't it? To some degree. No, I guess it's not a mental... I mean, does meme or anti-meme by definition have to be affecting directly other people's mind from the origin, or is it just like affection of the mind in a like, oh man, is it like, does it affect the mind? Does it? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to explain it, but my English is not good enough. The shy guy, would he be classified as having? Would he have anomalous classification under meme or anti-meme? Is what I'm asking.
Cognitohazard. A cognitohazard is something that is dangerous when we perceive it with one of the 5 senses. For example, a sound that causes you to bleed from every pore, or a smell that causes you to go insane. All memetic effects are a subset of cognitohazards. As in order to process the information, you have to sense it. Infohazard. Infohazards are anomalous effects that trigger when the SCP is described, referred to, or acknowledged.
Oh, he's an infohazard. Okay, never mind.
By an infohazard.
Okay, so he's an infohazard. Never mind then.
It affects data written about the anomaly and people that are made aware of the existence of the effect. Ontokinetic, or reality bender.
Reality bender.
An ontokinetic being can manipulate the laws of reality, magic, through anomalous means.
Okay.
Groups of interest contain and study reality benders, often in unethical ways, creating some moral crises for the Foundation. Anart, or an artist.
An artist
is short for anomalous art. Many people and groups aware of the existence of reality-breaking phenomena choose to explore it by creating often surrealist art with extra-normal properties. These people being called an artists.
An artist.
Narrativic, or pataphysical. A narrativic anomaly manifests itself within works of fiction, often affecting the content of the work involved by creating characters, changing the setting, or blurring the line between fiction and the reality. The metaphorical or pataphysical SCP explores narrativic anomalies using the wiki itself as the narrative. It explores the idea of characters we write on the website attempting to communicate and manipulate us, and being aware of things on the website like author pages, deletions, and discussion forums.
Really?
Technology and engineering.
Dude,
Scranton
we got a lot to look into. Dude. What the fuck?
Those are technological devices used by the Foundation to essentially regulate consensus reality. They cancel out or prevent the effects of reality-bending entities and anchor down areas where the level of unreality is higher or lower than normal, counterbending it so that it matches the reality that we know and inhabit. Many contemporary authors have criticized the widespread use of SRAs as a catch-all for containing any type of structural or ontokinetic effect. Telekill. The SRA
Telekill?
back in the old days.
Oh, that's some
Except the problem was
execution.
worse. In its original form, it was a metal that blocked all mind-affecting or compulsive effects. People went crazy over it and started using it in all their containment procedures. They mistakenly thought it also blocked memetic effects. Scranton's rewrite of the article added some nuances and drawbacks to it. And its usage had fallen by the wayside anyway, as people have become more innovative with writing. Humes. A unit of measurement that measures the intensity of reality present in an area, crucial to understanding how SRAs and other technologies work.
Oh, so like if it...
Okay, yeah. Quantifying how powerful reality-bending effects are relative to each other. K-class scenario.
Interesting.
A term used to classify possible apocalypse scenarios, which the Foundation deals with on a daily basis when discussing the possible outcomes of dangerous effects or entities. The most common type is XK class, which describes a conventional destruction of the planet scenario. There are multiple minor ones whose exact definitions in canon are being argued over, including CK class, the restructuring of a reality, AK class, humanity goes crazy, SK class, the dominant species on Earth is no longer humans, and ZK class, reality universal failure.
So C class is
mind wipe drugs.
I gotta be honest, dude, there's so many things going on. I'm probably not gonna remember all, but it's interesting still.
Masquerade of secrecy, and
Just as an intro, you know?
to create stories dealing with memory and knowledge. In the universe, these are simply chemicals that erase a normal human's memory of some amount of time. When the Foundation
Really?
has to recover an anomaly in the real world, or seriously messes up, these are used.
Oh, is it like Black Man kind of?
Things to
Black,
read
no, Men in Black.
There's more to
Black
the wiki than
Vampire.
the SCP series.
Like, you know, with the lights,
I
and then
open
you
the
don't
door
forget.
to the other areas of the site
Jesus.
that are part of the Foundation universe, as well as answer some common questions about key but confusing parts of the site.
There you go, sorry. Camera died.
And the door to the other areas of the site.
Things
that are
to
part of the
read and
Foundation
do.
universe,
What
as
you
well
got
as
for me,
answer some
homie?
common questions about key but confusing parts of the site. What is SCP-1?
Oh yeah, what is the
Early days
first
of the
one?
site, when the wiki was just getting started, there was some debate over what should be this sacred number. 1.
What's the first one?
Everyone
Yeah.
agreed that it had to be incredibly written. Everyone agreed that it had to be big.
Yeah, it had to be
Something deserving of
huge.
the very first spot.
True. I like this.
But nobody could agree who should do the honor of writing it.
Are you serious?
The answer:
We don't have one?
everyone can write their own vision of SCP-1.
No, we don't actually have one?
The system of proposals. An author's individual.
Oh, yes. How does this work?
Number 1.
How does this work?
They vary wildly and contradict each other. On the number 1 hub page, it says that the quote real number 1 is so secret that a number of false ones have been created. This explanation allows there to
That's
be
the best
multiple
one.
self-contradictory number
Right.
1s. One of them could be the true one to you.
Oh, it's like... Dude, wait. So it's kind of like what they've done with the number 1, right? Because the number 1 is like the big motherfucker. That's the boss, kind of, you know what I mean? That's like the first one, the major one, you know? Basically, it seems like with the first one, they've done like a Schrodinger's cat, you know what I mean? Like, you put the cat in a box with a poison capsule that opens at an unknown time. And meanwhile, you can think about the cat as both dead and alive. And the same way, you can think about it like maybe there's 20 001 SCPs, right? 20 of them. But only one is real. But we don't know which. Because you can think about it, most likely, I would think the SCP, just logically, SCP-001 would be the reason why they had to create the Foundation. The SCP Foundation. You know what I mean? Like that, it had to be the reason, kind of, why. Which is like, I guess why there was so much trouble in figuring out, well, who's this motherfucker gonna be, right? Because it's so important to the... It's like the red line in the middle. It's like the eye above the eye. You know what I'm saying? That's genius. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
You want a couple to be canonical at the same time. Maybe all of them are fake. Maybe all of them are true.
All
It
of them.
all
are
depends
true.
on your
Ooh.
canon and how much you like a given proposal. In effect, SCP-1 proposals are canon builders. Each one sets the tone for a particular author's vision of the Foundation itself.
Dude,
Creating an SCP-1
maybe-
proposal is as easy as writing it and then submitting
Maybe
it
at
just
some
like any
point
other
they will
SCP.
pick one.
Although, unless you're
Maybe it's like an
incredibly
evolutionary
experienced, it will
system
most
still.
likely get rejected by the community and deleted.
Not true.
As of
Fair.
November 2017, 19 SCP-1 proposals have been successfully posted. Each one is the
Nice.
product of a lot of work and a high concept. Here are 6 of the
Oh, I
19.
can imagine, dude.
Number 1.
Imagine all the people who have to be appeased before, like,
The
accepting
Foundation
it.
was established to prepare humanity for the rapture or apocalypse. SCP-1 is the angel guarding Eden.
Ooh,
Number
interesting.
2, Dr. Mann's proposal. The first and only natural anomaly was a spiral path in New York. A group of ambitious scientists experimented with reality using this as the thread and created every single other anomaly in the database.
Okay.
Number 3,
I like the first one better.
Andrew Swan's proposal. The SCP Foundation is aware of its fictionality. They are currently discussing ways to kill their authors. Number 4.
That's a good one.
Rose's proposal. Keter class anomalies are an inherent part of the universe and can be contained using each other. By releasing all Keter class anomalies, the universe can be manually restructured.
Oh, that's a good one.
Twisted Gears Cactus proposal.
I think I like that one best so far.
SCP-1 is one manifestation of the mechanical god worshipped by a clockwork cult, which wreaked havoc on the world before the military destroyed it. And finally, number 6, Kaladin's proposal. Humanity was originally a slave race whose suffering was harvested to create utopia on another planet. We escaped and then tried to cloak ourselves. The cloak failed, and our masters are trying to bring us home.
I like that one, I think. I'm not gonna lie, I think I like Roget's best so far. This is pre-knowing anything about the universe, by the way, so this is a noob's take.
It's my personal suggestion.
Read conventional SCPs before you take the
proposals
001
are
deep dive.
Complex and require some knowledge of Foundation.
Yeah, that's what I guessed. You need,
expanded on, or subverted.
That's why I said it was a noob's take.
SCPs
I had a feeling.
Take the number 1 deep dive. Special classifications: -EX, -J, and -ARC.
Okay.
There are other types of documents that use the basic SCP format and style, but utilized in a different way. This allows different stories with more diverse tones and themes to be told. The SCP-EX classification designates an SCP that is no longer considered anomalous. It is explained. The object or phenomenon in question still exists, but the Foundation has deemed it to be an acceptable part of consensus reality.
Well, they know what it does?
Or it turned out to be just a new scientific discovery.
Oh!
An SCP-J is a joke SCP, a parody SCP in a sense. Joke SCPs are explicitly non-canon, using the SCP format to joke around or make fun of something for the benefit of the reader. They may riff on in-universe tropes like overwrought security, over-the-top containment,
posting, it's just for fun.
Characters. Or they may parody things like food poisoning, bad drivers, easily angered people, or that one movie. They may even make fun of the elements in the other popular SCP canons.
So it's like
a joke SCP is just a way to make the reader laugh. If a joke SCP is not well
it's entertainment
and very funny, it'll be downvoted.
Oh.
And finally, we have SCP-ARC.
That's smart, dude.
These
I like
are usually legacy pages from the very old days of the site, when standards were low and the mass edit had not been conducted yet. While most of these SCPs were deleted, some of them needed to have text archives due to their usage in other tales or still existing SCPs, or because they were historically important. ARC is no longer in use since the opening of Series 2.
So they're no longer in use, but they're like building blocks, essentially. Like, they're like half pieces of bricks.
And collaborative logs. Tales are how the Foundation universe gets deepened and extended beyond the limits of the simple SCP file. It allows authors to tell stories where groups or people can interact with each other in the SCP universe, to expand on ideas already created in SCPs, or just, to write a prose. Some authors may also turn their tales into a series, usually if they have a cohesive idea in mind, or if it gets really popular. Notable series include, There Is No Antimemetics Division, The Cool War, The Lombardi Tales, Tales of Mr. Collector, and Pitch Haven. You can find tales in the top-rated tales.
I'm guessing these are like quite
to a themed contest,
diligent writers of the SCP universe, right? Or no?
You can also, as we'll soon learn,
maybe
read the tales in a canon. A canon is your own set of assumptions about the tone, setting, and dynamic of the universe. Each of the canons in the Canon Hub is a wildly different set of assumptions based off the baseline SCP Foundation. Think of them as mega tale hubs, or parallel universes, or self-contained cinematic universes for authors to play in. Here are 5 notable canons. broken masquerade, a world where the Foundation's existence is known by everyone. Resurrection, a deliberate attempt to resurrect the action-orientated SCP Dr. Crazy Days of Series 1, in which an MTF composed of anomalous humans is formed.
Wait, is it regarded as an alternate universe, or is it regarded as a like it's kind of like, okay, is it like branching off the main like wood? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, is it like a branch out? Like, oh, what would the world be like if this was true? You got a branch, and if it's a popular, it gets more stories on it. You know what I mean? It kind of spreads like that. Is it like that? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
Third Law, a pulpy sci-fi paratech world dominated by the machinations of Prometheus Labs and Anderson Robotics. Rat's Nest. The military killed God, and the Foundation is covering it up. Reality is slowly unraveling and falling apart.
Oh, I like that.
The Gulf. Small-scale, poignant series set in the southern United States, usually having a restful, mysterious feel, and featuring religious symbolism and unconventional types of media.
Dude, that's interesting though. Imagine if they killed, call it God, whatever, they killed the central thing that was holding the universe together, and now it's kind of breaking apart, and that's where the anomalies come from. That's a fascinating idea, man. That's a great idea.
On the site are
just through and through.
Collaborative logs or pages can be edited and added to by anyone, although some quality oversight still exists. This is a good way to get your creative chops and contribute whilst not taking the plunge of writing an SCP. The 3 main collaborative pages exist as lists of mini SCPs, very small-scale items or phenomena that don't need to have a narrative, but still need to be unique, appropriate, and interesting.
Oh, so it's like an idea
of anomalous items. The SCP Foundation has discovered a substantial number of items which are simply too useless to merit further attention. This document lists those items which have prompted some curiosity. Log of extranormal events. This page is to document anomalous events that have attracted the Foundation's interests, but occurred too briefly for the Foundation to secure or contain them. And finally, Log of unexplained locations. This page is to be devoted to the documentation of low-threat anomalous locations which have been discovered by the SCP Foundation over the years.
Oh, so it's just like
there
where...
are a number of other collaborative pages, usually SCP supplements or logs. Keep in mind guidelines for contributions.
I bet, like, for the you know, the anomalous locations, I bet there's one where, like... Oh, dude, there might be some interesting, like, is it just like locations where things seems odd, like things are not acting the way they should? You know, like, just like, let's say like water goes upwards instead of falling down. I bet there's something like that there, right? Like some Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing. Because that would be cool, man. Oh man, dude, honestly, this is gonna end up with me fucking sitting down and writing an SCP, dog. Not gonna lie. Nothing major though, but you know, something fun.
Still apply though. And if your edition is deemed to be below standard, it'll probably be removed.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Groups of interest. The Foundation isn't the only fish in the anomalous sea. Other organizations, collective, and groups exist that utilize or create paranormal phenomena for their own purposes. Some are associates of the Foundation, others are rivals to it. Many of them quietly pursue their own interests, while a great many of them fall on the lines of good and or evil. The vast majority simply have a goal in mind that's somewhere in between. Here are 7 notable groups of interest. Are We Cool Yet? A collection of artists, usually producing surreal and disturbing works of art. Their pieces are designed to have maximum impact and are usually lethal in some way.
Lethal?
The Chaos Insurgency. A rogue cell of the Foundation that uses terrorist means to steal and repurpose powerful anomalies to gain control over nations and conduct unethical experiments using them. The Church of the Broken God. A widespread cult believing in a clockwork god. who is broken into pieces all over the world.
Oh, now comes back to that. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense then.
An individual
with the
or
001
company that makes anomalous artifacts that are supposed to be children's toys. The Serpent's Hand. A small organization headquartered in an interdimensional library, believing in anomalous rites and the normalization of the paranormal and magical. Marshall, Carter, and Dark. A corporation that buys and sells anomalous items for the benefit of the super rich.
Oh, I like that.
Global Occult Coalition, or the GOC. A massive military organization.
Dude, I'm sorry. I read that and I read it as cock.
Force
I'm
to destroy
so
the
sorry.
extra-normal wherever they find it.
I read that as cock. I
Many
don't know
groups
why.
also have their own form of documentation, similar to an SCP. On the wiki, they are called GOI formats, and they are stories told from a different perspective than the Foundation. For more information, visit the Groups of Interest page, as well as the ongoing Groups of Interest overview and guide on the SCP Declassified subreddit. Beyond the main site. You can find stories and SCPs to read even beyond the classifications and places I've already detailed. In this final section, I present other outlets of writing associated or tied to the SCP Wiki that you can also look into.
I guess it's not that strict.
Firstly,
there is that
a great place for you to discover lesser known but very well written tales and SCPs are in the contest archive. For example, SCP 1000, 2000, and 3000 contests all have SCPs themed around urban legends, sci-fi, and horror, respectively.
Ooh.
You have the Short Works contest, and the D-Class contest mentioned earlier, and the History contest for both Tales and SCPs. Then there are the gigantic, multi-part Mobile Task Force contest and Groups of Interest contest, and then the Dystopia and Reimagining contests, and so forth. There's so much to find. The Wanderer's Library is set in the mysterious, ancient, magical library of the Serpent's Hand. It includes prose pieces and poetry set in the SCP universe.
Poetry,
evoking a sense of wonder, of the extraordinary and fantastical.
Ooh, I like that.
There is a larger world beyond the one we know. In the world of the library,
I like that a lot.
These wonders are hidden, but never truly far away. But never forget that this is a wilder world than our own, and it's never entirely safe, either. And finally, we have the international foreign SCP branches. There's French SCPs, Russian SCPs,
oh my god,
Japanese SCPs.
Oh shit, really?
Each brand has their own set of SCPs, many of which have extremely creative and diverse ideas. If you're looking for
that's so cool, man. So it's internationally.
This might be a place to find cool concepts.
Oh shit.
And if you don't know a foreign language, the main SCP-INT wiki hub has translations of some of them.
They even have translation. Dog, that's crazy. Holy, imagine how much work has been written.
By Reddit user Modulum83 over on the SCP Declassified subreddit. All links will be in the description. If you enjoyed it, give Modulum83 some praise in the comments section for writing something I couldn't write myself. I hope
Fair enough.
answered most of your questions about who
hey, at least the guy was honest, dog.
And that it convinced
you. Hey, at least he was honest, dude.
And become part of the universe.
What can I say? Can't blame him, man, for that. That was it? Alrighty, boys. Yo, I'll just write GG. Wait, that's crazy. I have... dude. Just on the last point, because we have stopped up a lot and asked a lot of questions, so I won't do a roundup. But on the last point there, I'm just imagining, like, there's even different things in different languages on different forums. I'm just imagine if somebody made a codex and gathered every single thing in a codex, then organized it, and just how much like literary is that how you say it? Literary work, written work. We'll just say written work. There are. Thank you guys so much for recommending this video. This was a great video. Although, yeah, I know it's not really that interesting for some of you who likes videos and something happening and something to actually react to, in a sense, not just a conversation and listening to some ideas. So, if you weren't interested in it as much, I apologize. We'll do some more action-filled reaction to the SCP worlds as well. Some more, I got some good ones going up. I got some good ones coming up. As always, if you have some ideas of what we are going to react to next, please leave a comment and we'll definitely check it out for sure. I'm so stoked, dude. And I'm not gonna invest in any part of the SCP world without you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.